Welcome to section 2.2 of Mastering Software Testing. In this section, we're going to dive into the Software Development Lifecycle, or SDLC. The SDLC is a framework, that outlines the steps involved in creating the software. It helps guide teams through the process of planning, building, testing, and deploying the software. So by following the SDLC framework, teams can produce high-quality software in a structured and predictable way because the framework defines what to expect. SDLC is like a roadmap that shows where the project is going and how to get there. It's very important because it ensures that everyone involved in the project, whether that's developer or tester, project managers, product owners, everybody knows what's happening at each stage and what should happen after each stage. Throughout this section, we'll explore the different phases of the SDLC so you can understand how they fit together and why they're important. Okay? And we're going to talk about different SDLC models in this. And there are several SDLC models, by the way: waterfall, agile, V model, spiral, and all that. And agile is pretty common these days and pretty popular. And we're going to talk about these in our course. Okay. Now let's look at the key phases of SDLC. So each phase has specific goals and deliverables. And understanding these phases will help you know where and how to contribute as a tester, right? Because there's so many phases in here. Where and how does a tester fit in? So it's very important that you understand this structure and you understand this framework. So if you look at this flow, the first one is requirement analysis. In this phase, the team gathers and analyzes the business needs. Okay, that's the starting point, right? So there's a business need. The customer wants something. That's where it all begins. If the customer doesn't have the need for the feature of the software, then there is no code, there is no testing, there are no features. So it all starts from the business need, the customer's need. So in the requirement analysis phase, the team gathers and analyzes the business needs. This is where they define what the software should do and document these requirements in detail. And the key deliverables of this phase are requirement specifications, depending on the model, depending on what kind of SDLC model is being used, right? There could be requirement specification document, or you could have use case diagrams, and you could have user stories if it's an agile methodology. There are different frameworks, and we're going to talk about these. Okay, so depending on what type of model or SDLC model you're using, you could have different outputs, and user stories are quite common, out of these requirements. You define the requirements, the business needs, and then you develop user stories out of that. Okay, what does the user want? And that goes in the requirement analysis phase. And then we have design phase. Here, the team takes the requirements, nothing but the customer's needs, and then they create a blueprint for the software, or they design the overall architecture, user interface, databases, and any system integration. So this is the design phase. They're designing the system. They're defining the architecture. They're defining what interfaces will there be, and they're defining databases and any system integrations, right? So this is the design phase. And important documents like high-level design or HLD, low-level design or LLD, UI markups, and database schemes are some of the deliverables in this phase, depending on what's needed. And don't worry about these terms yet. We're going to talk more later. Okay. And the third phase is the coding phase or the implementation phase. In this phase, the developers write the actual code based on all the requirements, based on all the documentation that's been produced so far, and the design and everything. They also conduct unit tests. Okay, we're going to talk what unit tests are, but it is the lowest level of testing to ensure the code works as intended. And the main outputs of this phase are the source code, unit test results, and code review reports. Because the developers write code, they test their code, that's unit tests, and the developers also review each other's code, that's code review. Okay. So the outputs are that the code is produced, the source code is produced, unit test results are attached, and code review reports are attached. Okay. That goes in the coding phase. This is when the developers are actually coding the features and the software. And then comes the testing phase. In this phase, it's all about validating the software against the requirements. Testers perform various types of testing to identify defects and ensure the software works correctly. So this is where we come in. This is where the testers come in. And they're actually testing the software against the requirements. Remember the business needs? So they're checking whether the software is built for the business needs. Okay, and they do different types of testing. We just talked about different types of testing, and we're going to talk more on that. But the tester performs various types of testing to identify the defects. Okay, that's the main job of a tester. And key documents of this phase are test plans, test cases, defect reports, and test execution reports. Then comes the deployment phase. Here, the software is released into the production environment. Okay, this is the time when the software is introduced in the production and it is available for the end user to use. So the team carefully plans and executes the deployment to ensure a smooth transition. Outputs include the deployment plan, the deployed software, and the post-deployment validation results. Okay, and then this maintenance phase. After the deployment is done, the team provides ongoing support. Just because the software is introduced in production doesn't mean everything works smoothly, right? You have to monitor it and you have to support it. So that's the phase. That's the maintenance phase. They fix any bugs that arise, adjust performance issues, and implement any updates that's needed. Okay. Maintenance deliverables include bug fix reports, performance enhancement reports, and updated software versions.